Hagerty is the world's largest provider of specialty insurance for enthusiast vehicles and supports keeping car culture alive through youth programs, the Historic Vehicle Association, the RPM Foundation, and more. Hagerty is home to key programs such as the Hagerty Drivers Club, Hagerty Drive Share, Hagerty Valuation Tools, the Hagerty Drivers Club magazine, and much, much more. For more information, visit their website at hagerty.com. PCA Sim Racing is proud to have Hagerty Motorsports as its 2021 title sponsor.
The beginner-level classes are not to be underestimated. While we prepared for carnage at the punishing circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the drivers came out and put on a show instead. A shockingly low amount of retirements and a fantastic race left many impressed. But Montreal is a widely known track, and today's race at Auto Club is admittedly new to most of the drivers. Have they put in the work to be ready? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Event 4 of Series 7 of PCA Sim Racing presented by Hagerty Motorsports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is DJ Clark. Taylor Burse and Rachel Whiteford are reporting from pit lane, and up in the producer's booth, we have Ryan Bauer, who is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. As always, the PCA Sim Racing Series is brought to you by Hagerty. Since 1984, Hagerty has been the worldwide leader in collector car insurance. Everything they do is geared towards enabling and enhancing the experience of automotive enthusiasts and making sure that the vehicles we all love and lifestyles that revolve around them don't just survive, but thrive well into the future. Services include the Hagerty Drivers Club, Drive Share by Hagerty, the shop, and much, much more to fuel car culture. Hagerty, let's drive together. Now, since this is a roval that many fans and drivers are probably not as familiar with, why don't we head to our track guide provided by GSRC to get familiar with it. Welcome to Auto Club Speedway. Located in a prime location directly east of Los Angeles, it's been used in many Hollywood films. While the oval portion of this track is more well-known, the road course has hosted everything from club racing all the way up to top-tier sports cars. The variety in layouts makes it well-suited to higher and lower-powered cars, as well as everything in between. Of the 3 circuits available, they range between 3 miles and 1.5 miles, but all of them are quite technical and have between 17 and 21 corners. Naturally, the fastest parts will always be those that utilize the oval, but they end in quite heavy braking zones. The infield has some surprisingly difficult corners, such as the hairpin, which starts with a fast chicane and then trips you up by forcing you to brake on a curve. The exit back onto the oval also comes with its own challenges, wherein some cars find themselves losing grip as they pick up speed. Plus, the transition onto the banking can be jarring if you let the car swing too wide. A good handling setup will be critical to your lap times for sure. All in all, the oval might steal the show, but grassroots racing has made the roadside of this venue a valuable track to the area. Fans and drivers are sure to enjoy the racing today. Well, DJ, it's got a tight and twisty infield, a long oval portion, but most of all, it's another one in your backyard.
It is indeed, Joe. This track is located about 2 hours outside of Los Angeles, so I have been here many a time, and I've actually had the opportunity to race here in real life. And let me tell you, this may look like a pretty standard, straightforward, flat roval configuration, but some of those infield sections are very, very tricky, specifically the heavy braking zone coming down through turns 3 and 4, getting off of the oval and down into the infield. It's very easy to spin your tires up around there just a touch of the grass can send you off. There's also a couple of chicanes in here that aren't really chicanes in these GT3s that are going to be taken flat out. That's turn 7 and 8 and a little bit of turn 12 as well. In terms of overtaking, well, your best opportunity is really going to be getting on the binders late going into 3 and maybe being super aggressive going down into 13. But watch out for the draft to be king around here, even with the relatively low downforce that these GT3s do present.
Indeed, and well, right now it is in the middle of qualifying with many drivers having set a time, but they only get 2 laps around here, and the laps are only about 1:30 long, so they should be finishing up pretty quickly. And right now, Trip Starkey has the provisional pole, and he's actually coming around to finish his 2nd lap. I'm seeing if he can improve on that one, but he cannot. Meanwhile, on screen, we've got Stacy Iwata getting ready to finally set a time, as the first one unfortunately was deleted, and the second one will as well. So Stacy's going to have a rough time, as DJ looks like Krutzler is quick going up to 3rd.
Yeah, indeed, Krutzler there. I'm also seeing Drew Kenny putting in a top 10 time. Patrick Adamczyk looking pretty good in 7th. We're right on board right now with Scott Rogers, who has yet to set a time. Drivers have been told, by the way, you can see them down on the apron here. The apron is fair game, but do not expect to be given room coming back up. Good time there for Scott Rogers. That'll net him a 15th.
Frobe is going to put it 1 second slow or faster, actually about half a second there. 36.6 will get him into 17th. Garcia doesn't get a second lap, so now we jump to Scott Kessel here in the 48. Let's see if this is any better for him as he comes to the timing line. Of course, he actually hasn't set a time yet. He'll have enough to try and get back around for another one, and he'll need it because that one was deleted.
Yeah, and I don't think that would have been the greatest lap there anyways, Joe. You saw how he was kind of flirting with the banking there, that white line, letting the car run up there a little bit. That will actually cause a little bit of friction on the sidewall of the tire, and it'll slow you down by a 10th or 2. So that's not what you want to be doing. Patrick Adamczyk dropping down there a position at courtesy of Adam Spence, who was able to just put in his 2nd lap to come in 7th. This is the crucial corner, though, here, 18, 19, and into 20, Joe. You've really got to maximize speed coming out of that line. Make sure you get it. Let's see if Patrick can go any faster here. Doesn't look like it for the 407.
But Thomas Briggs set his first lap, and he goes up to 10th place, so it's looking good for him. Purdy, all the way down in 23rd, is going to practice his pit entry, which you shouldn't need today, as they're going to have 100% fuel on board the cars, so they can go from start to finish here. Instead, we check out Frobe, also just getting some extra practice in. Checking to see if anybody else out there can take a time. Looks like Scott Kessel needs one. Here we have him on screen. Hemig also needs his 2nd lap, and so does Thomas Briggs. Other than that, doesn't look like anybody else on track is able to get a time in from here. So Kessel around and out of the final couple corners onto the oval once again. Takes a nice and easy here up onto the banking, not trying to damage the bottom side of the car. Short as possible, run to the line. It's a 35.4, and that'll bump him up to 14th.
He'll have to be pretty pleased with that. Here is James Hamig as he comes across the line right now. Let's see if that's better than 17th. It looks like that 17th position will stay true.
Yep, and that means Thomas Briggs will be our last of them out there. And the number 16 car, let's see what he can put down for his 2nd lap, all the way into the top 10 already. The bright lime green car will not go higher than 10th, unfortunately, as he's not able to go faster. This, of course, will take us to our championship, and here in the challenge class, it is Trip Starkey who currently leads the way now that we have 3 rounds down, and only 2 of them are counting for our drivers with the drop week, so we're seeing a little bit more variety, but we do have a tie for 5th and 6th between Chris Pippin and David Kaufman. It's Krutzler who's trying to chase Starkey, but he's going to have to get some good results here because you can see he's dropped a fair distance back. Also got Smiley and Taylor rounding out your top 10 amongst our challenger points. We're halfway through the season, so this is going to be interesting from here. And let's bring in our pit reporters as well. And Rachel, we mentioned we're near LA, so I guess a lot of track facts today going to be Hollywood-centric.
You would be right in that regard, actually, because this place holds a very special part of that. Not only has it starred, as you mentioned earlier before the broadcast, as its own film title role as Daytona in Ford versus Ferrari, but the track has also hosted various racing scenes from films like Charlie's Angels, Herbie, and The Bucket List. But more unusually, it hosted a crashing semi-truck, a motorcycle, and robots. Yeah, the site here, it used to be the Kaiser Steel Mill in California. Employed 10,000 people. It closed in 1983. And where better than a closed steel mill to film the final scenes of Terminator? Yes, the second film, that is, of course. We all know that one. But 1991, Arnold Schwarzenegger filmed that film here. And he, of course, would later visit the track as governor, or the governator? Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, a term that I'm sure he loves as we now head off into the warm-up as well. And Taylor, you know, I mentioned a bit about the two distinct halves of this track. You've got the oval portion, you've got the infield portion. With that oval, how much is the slipstream going to keep guys together? Are we going to see a lot of trains forming?
Depending on how well these drivers are going to go through. When we see them coming across the start-finish line out of those final few corners back onto the oval, yes. But when they get to that back straightaway, entering into the infield section, that's when these drivers are going to have to back off, give each other plenty of room. During the practice of this event, I was seeing a lot of drivers struggling on corner entry here, actually overshooting it. So if they're staying tucked up like that under these drafting situations, it's going to be a little bit of chaotic. So they're going to have to back off a little bit coming out of NASCAR Turn 2 in order to be able to stay on and not have any major incidents in the beginning stages of this race, and later on if there is some major draft slipstreams that are happening.
So as the drivers now get out for that last little bit of practice, it's very early in the morning out here in California, DJ, and 9:30 a.m. virtual standard time, as you'd expect. It's pretty cool on the track. I'm wondering how that's going to affect things for the drivers, especially early in this race.
Yeah, it's going to take them a minute to get the tires warmed up around here. And so they're going to have to be very, very careful. Now, the one good thing that they will have working for them is you don't necessarily need maximum grip coming through that NASCAR 1 and 2 like Taylor talked about. So the tires will be able to come up to speed a little bit more naturally than they would by the time you get down. But you're going to need all of that heat in those tires when you get down into the infield.
You can see they get a big run to the line, too. So I wonder if we could see anybody maybe try and use a good slingshot to get an overtake right at the end of this race, as they do follow the oval across the start-finish line. And thankfully not having to use those pits, so won't have to really practice NASCAR style getting into those here today. And this should be a fun one, as I mentioned. Not often used in many iRacing series at all. It does get used quite a bit in real life. And they are going to have to try and practice. Interestingly, DJ and I have covered races here before. And from what we saw that time, it proved pretty tricky, especially some of the heavier braking zones, DJ.
Well, yeah, and part of the reason for that is because of the long run on the oval sections here, the brakes get very chilly. They come down to temperature, and so you've got to be very careful just easing that left foot, if you're a left foot braker, onto that braking pedal in order to make sure you can apply heat gradually to them. So you got to be careful about that, and you just got to be careful because this is really a tale of two tracks. You're in a different mindset when you're running around the oval here. You're thinking about it like an oval, 3, maybe even 4 wide, and then you get down into the infield, and you are dealing with a tight and twisty little road course. And I can't remember who said it last week, Joe, but they kind of compared it to an autocross circuit in the middle of the track, and I have to agree with that wholeheartedly.
does kind of have that vibe, which, speaking of autocross, they are going to have some events here in the real world. Taylor, I think you've got some information on that one?
Yeah, so the PCA actually comes together every year. Of course, last year during COVID was a different scenario, but they have something called the California Festival of Speed, which utilizes this same competition road course at Auto Club. A lot of drivers from the PCA across the country come out here and have a great time celebrating all things Porsche. As a matter of fact, during 2020, during COVID, as a matter of fact, they actually held the first virtual version of the California Festival of Speed. And for this year in 2021, you can catch all the action of this once again on October 30th through the 31st.
Great stuff. Looking forward to that. But this will now take us to our sponsor for the Challenge Series, and that, of course, is Z1 Dashboard. With each new version of the Z1 Dashboard software, it gets better and more feature-rich, and version 2021.3 is no exception. The Z1 Designer lets you create your own custom dashboards for use with the Z1 Dashboard. So in addition to the almost 200 standard car dashes, track maps, standings, and specialty displays, you can add your own custom designs, placing the data you want exactly where you want it. Remember, the Z1 Dashboard also takes care of the engineering and strategy for you. Where is your competition? When should you pit? How much fuel do you need? Who is in front or behind you? How is the weather? Are you gaining or losing to the other drivers? Make sure you are maximizing your on-track performance with the Z1 Dashboard. Using the Z1 Dashboard to examine your laps is an essential tool to becoming a faster driver. To find out more, visit z1dashboard.com. That also takes us to the grid for today's event, and it is Trip Starkey who is on the pole with Hector Garcia starting to his outside. David Krutzler starts from third. He'll have to try and get as many points as he can today to start to close that gap in the championship. Kim Frick will be fourth as David Kaufman starts P5. Then it's Drew Kenny in at 6, Adam Spence in at 7th, and Patrick Adamczyk in P8. Greg Palmer will start 9th, and the outside of row 5 has Thomas Briggs.
Starting off in 11th is going to be Anker Bergzon, followed by Gordon Waddle with Scott Rogers and Scott Kessel lining up behind them. Frederick Chin will be 15th, followed by Andrew Smiley, and James Hamming and Chris Ramirez will line up behind them. Robert Benson will be 19th, and Jack Stevenson rounds out your top 20.
Bruce Froby starts 21st, followed by Craig Smith in 22nd. Then it's Freddie Lopez, P23, and Purdy in 24th. McCune, Dugas, and Pippin are among the last to set times. Watt Taylor and Isle will round out the field, which is coming to be released here in any moment. Porsche pace car is going to let them go, and Trip Starkey will have control of the field. There you can see the pace car just off to the side, and a little bit of a blinking, unfortunately, for Trip Starkey. Hopefully that gets cleared up here soon. Oh, and the checkup behind them, waiting for Barney to wave the green flag and give the command for event 4 here in the PCA Sim Racing Series, and there's the green flag. Garcia pretty decent off the line behind them. Big jumps, but with a couple cars going 3 wide, and it looks like that is Briggs, and he's actually going to get a bump draft there, NASCAR style, from Wardle.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more of that, but we are 3 wide back there for P3 right now. That's Krutzler, Frick, and Kenny. Is now it looks like that we've got them starting to pace out a little bit, coming out of NASCAR 2 down into that first heavy braking zone. This is the first real test for these drivers, Joe.
Drew Kenny sending the Rainbow Warrior car up to the inside, and for second place, a little bit of a bump behind, and cars scattering off. Someone gets spun around into that opening chicane. Little bit of a problem, but it looks like everybody behind them was mostly able to avoid as we now watch from Drew Kenny. Oh, who's going to take the lead away from Starkey?
Oh, I'm not sure what happened there with Starkey. It looks like he may have had a little bit of a connection error coming around that 5 and 6 complex. We now ride on board with third place Hector Garcia as he tries to rein in Starkey ahead of him. Oh, but he gets another little love tap there. That was Gordon Wardle, I believe. No, excuse me. Yes, that was Gordon Wardle that got into the side of it.
It sounds like we have eyes on that opening wreck. Rachel, what happened back there?
Honestly, this was something that came through the entire field. We had some multiple contacts, but the big part of this was actually the 48 machine Scott Kessel. He got into the number 16 of Briggs, which nearly tipped him over. Actually spun him completely round, causing a big checkup there in the second corner in the infield there. We had cars off the track avoiding it, we had cars before it, but I gotta say, this was one of maybe 12 different contacts that just happened. Race control will be busy.
And Adam Chick is busy as he spun it coming out of the final corner. Unfortunately, thankfully, he was out of the way. But man, what a rise for Drew Kenny from 6th on the grid to the lead after the first lap. Trip Starkey is giving chase behind him, but he's not got enough slipstream this time through.
No, he's not. Yeah, Kenny was just able to absolutely pounce at the start of that race using a little bit of NASCAR skill in that Rainbow Warrior machine to make it do what it does best. A little bit of battles there in the back as I'm seeing that Spence and Kaufman starting to slow down a little bit and get into line. Everybody through that first tricky chicane okay here as we start lap 2.
Yeah, and again, this is for 7th back here with the 08 leading Spence, and then Scott Rogers behind them, Ankerberg Zone, Chris Pippen in there, Frederick Chin, and finally it ends with Taylor back in 13th. But they're going to brake hard down into the corners of 9 and 10, having to get that curved braking zone. And look at Garrett Taylor getting aggressive.
Yeah, that's Garrett Taylor coming to try to fight through on Frederick Chin. Taylor and Pippen right now are highest risers, able to really take advantage of that early lap kerfluffle. Both of them out 16 positions here, Joe.
Wow, we expected that sort of stuff at Montreal, not necessarily here, as Drew Kenny still leading the way, pulling along Starkey, who has not been able to clear up his internet issues, continuing to blink. They've gapped Hector Garcia by about 1.5 seconds at this stage. We now jump back to 11th. Chris Pippen, who's got a very good toe on Ankerberg Zone.
Yes, he does. Just trying to keep that wheel as steady as possible, not making any sort of changes as they fly past a lap car there, I believe. Whoa, that's the 311 of Chris Ramirez taking a little spin.
That's going to send him down to 22nd, and I think that's another one out of the final corner. Is this the banking maybe causing? Yeah, oh yeah, it is. Whoa.
You've got to be very careful with that banking, Joe. Even in these GT3 machines, which are a little bit more akin to a regular street-going Porsche, you get onto that too much, it pops that right side tire up, kind of hops it up over onto the banking. And anybody who has driven a car, period, will tell you that getting airborne is not a good thing. Oh, it's Crutzler!
That's Wardle going wide. Yeah, Crutzler to his inside, but he can't quite take advantage. You're going to weave through 12, which is sort of a nothing chicane. And unfortunately, it looks like he's not going to be close enough in the braking into 13. Maybe he could get something off of the final turn. Looks so tricky trying to get the right line through here. Look at how much it weaves amongst these cones.
Yeah, it really does. It's sort of a prolongated S there, and then you've got to have a little bit of dab on the brakes on the almost 90-degree left-hander of 17 before you just get back strong onto the power. Crutzler doing a good job of staying close here. I like what Wardle is doing as well. You can see just how low he is taking that car to the apron, just tickling that white line.
Oh, here we go. This is one of the better runs we've seen. We watch from the back of Wardle, looking at Crutzler. He's going to open up the inside. He tries to shut the door, maybe a little too late, and David's got the line, breaks down into turn 3, and takes it over. That'll give him 4th place.
And that was a little bit of an aggressive defense there from Wardle. You can see just how much he tried to pinch him going down there into 3, but Crutzler having absolutely none of it. Remember, Crutzler did start on the inside of row 2, so he is down a position from where he started, trying to gain up on Hector Garcia right now.
And unfortunately, Taylor, it sounds like we're already getting the stewards having to take some action here. They're not happy with Trip Starkey.
No, they certainly are not indeed. They're going to have to definitely give him a couple of warnings, and possibly a penalty is going to be given out to him, which will be very difficult for Trip Starkey as he is having a tough time, or a close race here for the race lead, but he's going to have to keep it on, find his P's and Q's for the most part. Otherwise, he will face severe penalties.
Let's hope he's not forced to park it this race with how big of a fight it is, as the cones just having a bad day there on the final portion of the course. Garcia reeling them back in. He was the 2.5 back. It's down to 6 or 7 tenths.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that. Hector's starting to get the car moving along a little bit here, and I'd imagine part of that is he's just feeling a good rhythm coming up through that infield section. You get into the motions, you get ready to go with it, and with these cars, you want to be within about 7 to 9 tenths of a second to be able to take full advantage of the draft. I think you need to be within about 4 or 5 tenths, though, when you cross the start-finish line to get a pass done.
Well, a little too deep there for Krutzler. We were watching that, and actually contact between Krutzler and Wardle just now in front of Pippin. There you can see them continuing on. It is Wardle who comes out in the 4th position. Double apex left-hander. Hard to spot those apexes through there, but Wardle manages it well. Let's take another look at it. And Krutzler's just going to be a little ambitious on the binders today.
Indeed, and he was down to the inside very, very, very late on those binders, and Wardle able to come back. I call that a racing deal, Joe. That was Wardle just trying to go the best he could, getting down into it, and the bump over the lines there for Krutzler, it's one of those things.
Yeah, I agree. Just kind of the nature of racing, and behind them, an attack from Kaufman on Frick almost wound up in contact, but that slowed up David quite a bit. Look at him. Now has Adam Spence all over his bumper.
Yeah, he does, and this has been a battle that's been raging here a little bit since the beginning of the race. Now, Spence is very close behind here. Doesn't get the perfect run out of 18 and 19, but he still should be relatively close enough as they cross the line. The gap's only about 2.5 tenths of a second. They work their way back up onto the banking. Oh, but this is for the lead. Starkey looking to be aggressive on the outside of Drew Kenny.
Fighting back, and Kenny has to go defensive. This is allowing Garcia to get involved as well. Garcia right up to the gearbox of the 20, but not able to keep close to him out of the corner. Maybe just hurt his momentum a little bit. Looks underneath him, and once again gets chopped off.
Yeah, not going to be able to get it done there, but I wonder on that last lap, on that last run through 3 and 4, Joe, if Drew Kenny saw what I did out of Trip Starkey. Starkey was able to get on the power very, very quickly. Whoa, very late dive onto the brakes there for Starkey, but he was able to get on the power quickly in that little mini straight between 3 and 4, and he backed out of it because Kenny closed off the line. If Kenny runs a little bit wide through 4, watch for Trip Starkey. He's got the speed to be able to just sling his way out of that corner.
10 minutes into this race, and still the top 3 are separated by less than a second amongst one another. Onto the front stretch once again. Who's got the best exit? Got to watch out for that transition, and it looks like all 3 of them have handled it well. But Starkey's closer to Garcia than he is to Kenny.
Yes, he is. Garcia looking to close that down. We jump back to that battle with Adam Spence. That's a little bit of battling going on up ahead there, I believe. I'm not sure who that is on the super high side. I believe that actually may be Wardle. That's Wardle trying to break the draft of Krutzler.
Indeed, and they'll hug the bottom side of the banking as they pick up speed, already getting to 160 miles an hour before finally they have to get on the binders. Krutzler this time doesn't miss his braking. Behind them, it's getting all clogged up. You can see a little bit of action between Kaufman and Spence has to back out as Kaufman is very strong coming up to turn 5, but decides not to attempt it on the inside of Frick.
Yeah, and as we said, that double apex left-hander there of 5 and 6, not really an area where you want to get an overtake done. But absolutely all of this battling, Joe, this train of cars, it seems like anytime somebody gets on the attack, they're not able to get a pass on. That just opens them up to being railroaded from behind.
Once again, out of turn 10, for the longer infield straights that they've got, trying to get a big run into the hard braking for 13. Kaufman getting close to Frick, but not close enough. Still being followed, of course, by Adam Spence back there. Now Scott Rogers and Ankerberg Zone are starting to approach. We saw them at the start of this race all in a bit of a train before. Great exit from Spence, although he bounced around a lot, hitting that little bit of banking. We start to pick up speed, and here we go again. Starkey and Kenny.
Ooh, late on the binders there for Starkey, trying to get that move, looking for a little bit of a crossover there, and Garcia sees that coming. Now, here he comes. He doesn't get the run out of 4 like he would have wanted to. He's not going to be able to get the run down now into 5 and 6. But all 3 of these cars, Joe, just absolutely hassling one another, looking for any opportunity.
They look very closely matched. So as they come down into the braking for turn 10. Once again, will we see anybody maybe try a dive in there at some point and get ambitious? Back to Krutzler now in 5th place. Wardle still in front of him. Different lines between the pair of them into the corner, and Wardle still off the apex, struggling to get the car to turn in.
And remember, we saw that a little earlier out of Wardle, where he was having problems. That was Greg Palmer. Not sure if he was getting by or if he was shutting the door there on Freddie Lopez.
Yeah, it was difficult to tell there. As they also come down into turn 10 now. Oh, and things getting a little too tight. Contact. Someone getting spun around. And that is Iwata, unfortunately, winding up off the course, out of the hairpin. I mentioned it's going to be sketchy trying to make a move into there, and Palmer, unfortunately, showing exactly what I was talking about.
Well, and what's especially unfortunate about this, Joe, is Iwata was a lap down on this incident, so he tries to send it there. There's one, and just a little bit of a late dive there, trying to get by that lapped car.
The leaders just made contact. Oh, no, Starkey got turned by Kenny. In turns 3 and 4, Starkey had a great move down to the inside, and unfortunately, it came to blows.
And Drew coming on the radio right now saying he is apologizing for it. Yeah, here it is going down into 3 and 4 like you said. Joe, Kenny just runs a little bit wide, tries to catch the car, and the clip right there.
Wow, that separates things pretty drastically between P1 and P2 now. We're going to give another look at it from Garcia's perspective. Sad to see it come down to that after they were having such great racing up to that moment. Garcia is, Garcia's caught Kenny actually. And Starkey is the one that's trying to play catch up. And onto the front stretch, here we go again. And this time, Garcia, promoted up into second, says, hey, the win is on here.
Yes, it is. He's going to pull out to the outside here a little early on. Little bit of a hip check there, at least attempted one from Drew Kenny. Now, Garcia is going to be on the longer way around, but he should be able to carry a little bit more momentum on that high side of the banking. And let's see if he tries to really run that car down the hill. Not necessarily. That old IndyCar highline not working. No!
Second lap in a row, and the leaders make contact. Garcia plowing into the rear of Drew Kenny. He gets it going, but he falls to third once again.
Yeah, and I think that was just an area where he just misjudged the braking zone. I said he was carrying a little bit more speed on that high line, just tried to dive it in. You can actually see the rear end starting to slide out on him, Joe, so he just carried way too much speed through that corner regardless of the contact.
Well, now our leaders really are truly separated from one another. This gives us a chance to check in with Rachel. It sounds like you've got some information.
Yeah, I absolutely do, but honestly, this has been very hectic as a race so far. Turn 4 seems to be one of our big trouble spots. In fact, I've seen more pit maneuvers happening there than the average car chase in Los Angeles. But, you know, I digress. The track you mentioned earlier has a lot of that autocross kind of temperament to it. It's very back and forth, left and right. And I think Rovals are a bit more of an infamiliarity to GT drivers. It's not something we go to very often. And I think most of them also will know that this track shares something very much in common with another NASCAR track. And my brain did a moment thing there. It does it. I'm old. In fact, I'm even older this weekend. But Michigan, they have exactly the same format. They're a large D shape. And that means that 2 and 3 of the NASCAR circuit, which we actually go through at least 2 here, is actually tighter than 1 and 3. Which makes the track a little bit more unusual. Now, not going to really affect these GT cars, but it means that we aren't really seeing them run down that big back straight, which is convenient because I recently heard a story about a couple of Valley girls that wanted to go to Disneyland, and they were driving down the freeway. They saw a sign that said Disney left, so they turned around and drove home.
Well played there. Is almost making contact with Kaufman. That was Spence we were riding on board with. This is a battle for effectively 6th place. These three, Frick up at the front of the trio.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of that carryover of the battle. Oh, I think something happened to Hector Garcia. He is plummeting down through the order, and indeed, there he is, spun at the exit of turn 10.
Oh, no, and this is a self-error. Just did it all on his own into that corner. That curved braking zone bites another driver.
Yeah, very tricky to come down into. It's a little bit of a shorter version of turn 7 at Bahrain almost. You have to sort of try to straighten the corner out as much as possible and slowly be applying the brake as you're trying to straighten out the car. And there you see the problem just as he's waiting for everybody to pass him by.
Oof, unfortunate there for him. So as we watch the drivers pick it up once again, we are now more than, looks like almost 20 minutes into this race. Yeah, we're getting pretty far into things. And riding on the low side, this is Spence just ahead of Kaufman, running that line up towards the top. Taylor, what's the story about Garcia? He's certainly been in the action today.
He certainly has. After looking over some of the incidents that happened for him, he kind of was overshooting that corner through the S's. Of course, noticing how that drivers are taking that S's is a more high-speed section. You can actually let it throttle out completely without having to touch the brakes. But Hector Garcia, having a great night after starting in second, was running up toward the top 5, but unfortunately with that incident, he is sitting in 11th. Hopefully he can recover nicely.
And as that was happening, Kaufman had a spin out of turn 4, just hit the wall a little bit and is still going, so it doesn't look like things are too bad. Meanwhile, we look at Adam Spence. So there's only 2 with Kaufman's spin. Still for 5th place, though. Frick, having begun this race in 4th, is down 1 and having to play defense yet again.
Yeah, indeed he is. Frick has been in the thick of the battle this entire time. Remember, that was Scott, that was Adam Spence there, almost running into the back of Kim as they made their way back out onto it. Big wheel hop there as they jumped up and over. That was Kim Frick being very aggressive with the bank. And he's got to be careful about that because not only can you get those tires up into the air, that can also damage your front splitter. And with as much as we have seen some drivers struggling to get front grip around here through some of the lower to medium speed corners, that's the last thing you want to have happen.
P1 still belongs to Drew Kenny. I need to check his qualifying. Did he miss a lap? No, he got both of them in. Just doesn't seem to be his strong suit, having started from 6th and has since made big progress. Pippin on board here with the number 25, just behind Scott Rogers, and also the battle we were watching earlier, Spence and Frick, which, they're catching up to Krutzler. Actually, all 5 of these cars have been kind of scrunching together.
Yeah, they have. They've definitely been squeezing back down here, so we'll have to see what that plays out. As you said, we're about 20 minutes down in this race. Every time I think David Krutzler's starting to build a little bit of a gap, it just starts to go away here on him. It's almost like he just can't get the rundown when he needs to.
And Pippin at the back of this is obviously looking to gain spots. Taylor, what you got on him?
Well, Chris Pippin, after starting in the 27th position, the Kansas City native definitely putting on the performance of the night after crawling his way up inside the top 10 in that 8th position. Of course, one of the things that he loves to do is competing in the club racing competitions for the PCA. As a matter of fact, when the Festival of Speed here at Auto Club Speedway happens at the end of the month, it will be also around the time where we see the Zone 8 Challenge compete in their club racing event at the famous Auto Club Speedway, as there is a lot of championships on the line, which we can talk a little bit more later on. But Pippin definitely having the experience of club racing at these types of configurations.
Watching from Adam Spence here. just behind Frick, and very good on the binders as well into that corner. Just taking a little cone as we jump back up to Drew Kenny once again, which is a good thing that we're going to him because it's time for our midway race report, hopefully before we get a pass, because Starkey has caught up to him. But real quick, it's time to bring you the Midway Race Report, brought to you by Z1 Dashboard. With each new version of the Z1 Dashboard software, it gets better and more feature-rich, and version 2021.3 is no exception. The Z1 Designer lets you create your own custom dashboards for use with the Z1 Dashboard. So in addition to the almost 200 standard car dashes, track maps, standings, and specialty displays, you can add your own custom designs, placing the data you want exactly where you want it. Remember, the Z1 Dashboard also takes care of the engineering and strategy for you. Where is your competition? When should you pit? How much fuel do you need? Who is in front or behind you? How's the weather? Are you gaining or losing to the other drivers? Make sure you are maximizing your on-track performance with the Z1 Dashboard. Using the Z1 Dashboard to examine your laps is an essential tool to becoming a faster driver. To find out more, visit z1dashboard.com.
Thank you. And looking at our field so far, the 18 car of Drew Kenny from the northeast region of Zone 1 is leading the way today. He started out in 6th place, and he is up to the front in what has been a very shaken up grid we're seeing right now. In fact, right behind him there is Trip Starkey, the guy in 2nd place from the Rocky Mountain region of Zone 9. That 20 car was first. He's trying to get back there after having a couple of round the rosy bushes for himself during the race, but he's working his way back, and it's looking like we'll see a lead change soon. Third place is going to be Gordon Wardle. The Gulf Coast region from Zone 12. The number 12 car, appropriate there, is putting on a good chase here. He's coming in closer. He's only 9 seconds back, but he's dealing with lap traffic here. He started 12th, and he's currently running 3rd. David Krutzer is from the Suncoast, Florida region of Zone 2. 13 machine started 3rd. Is currently running 4th. So, unfortunately, Wardle got past him. Did he Wardle past him? Sorry, I'll get my code. Moving on, Crim Frick in the 66 car from the Niagara region of Zone 1 is in 4th place. Kim started 5th, is up 1 place today. Looking at 5th place is Adam Spence from the Kansas City region of Zone 10. The 55 car started 7th, is currently running in 5th. Scott Rogers started 7th, is in 7th in the 737 machine from the Rocky Mountain region of Zone number 9. Scott started in 13th place, so there's a big movement for him of 6 spots so far in that Cobra Kai car, who is going to break out the karate. Chris Pippin there in 8th place, 25 car from the Kansas City region of Zone 10. Pippin started 27th, so there's a massive movement by him. He is absolutely running through this field. 9th place, Anka Bergerson from the northeast region there of Zone 1. The 248 in. I can't quite tell today. Is his car a pizza? I'm not sure. Now I'm hungry. Darn it. 9th place, of course, that puts him up from 11th, so 2 places again. Hector Garcia there in 12th place, 9th now. After we saw a spin there, I think, by Bergerson. The Gulfstream region from Zone 12, the 15 car, moving forwards here. He's unfortunately down from 2nd, so he's trying to recover here. Kaufman is in 11th place. David Kaufman in the 08 there, the Pacific Northwest region driver of Zone 6, putting on a good job today. Trying to recover as well after early incidents from, I think he was low 20s. He's now up to 11th, and he was 5th on the grid. 12th place is Jack Stevenson from the Chicago region of Zone 13. The car number 6, up 8 places from starting 20th. Chicago, the region where pizza is incorrect. 13th place, Garrett Taylor in the 19 car from the Kansas City region of Zone number 10. Garrett is so far up from 29th to 13th, so another huge mover in this field, making some moves. 14th is Chris Ramirez from the Lone Star region, first Texan so far in the 311 from Zone number 5. Chris is up from 18th, so there's a gain of 4 for him so far. There's the people having some moments of heels here, but Craig Smith from the Mid-Ohio region of Zone 4 in the 74, up from 22nd, so some big headway for him as well. And now we're going to turn it over to Taylor so we can split it down the middle like the San Andreas Fault.
Well, thank you, Rachel. On that note, we move down to P16, where car 407 of Patrick Adamczyk from the Upper Canada region is currently running. He's lost 8 spots, however, since the start of this race, looking to recover. Dropping back to the 17th position, we find Greg Palmer from the Milwaukee region in that beautiful Gulf livery Porsche as he works his way through the circuit. Started in 9th, hopefully trying to recover late in the going. P18, he started in 25th. He's the last car on the lead lap. That's Andrew McCune from the Rocky Mount region, looking to see if he can stay on the lead lap here late in the going. The first car 1 lap down in the 19th position is David Purdy, who is having a little bit of a tough tie here. He has had some penalties that he had to overcome, but will try to recover. The Peach State region's driver also went to some of the Rensport Porsche reunions early on in 2018. Rounding out your top 20, the 777 of Freddy Lopez from the Pacific Northwest region, considered probably one of the home track drivers here in tonight's field of challenge class competitors, looking to see if he can improve and if he tries to get his lap back. 21st in the car 130 from the Red River region, Bruce Friobi in that beautiful silver, red, and black Porsche, trying to recover after starting around, started just outside of the top 20. 22nd in car 22 from the Connecticut Valley region, Andrew Smiley, trying to see if he can find his way up through the field after starting in 16th. 23rd, you actually now moved up to 22nd. Las Vegas' very own Frederick Chin in car number 11, making some headway utilizing that slipstream we just saw coming out of NASCAR Turn 2 before entering into the infield. Close racing action between the two competitors. Going back to 24th, Robert Benson from the Rensport region in the Falcon Tire livery Porsche as he works his way across the start-finish line. Quiet night for him. We'll try to see if he can improve late in the going. 25th, still 1 lap down, Scott Kessel from the Northeast region comes across the line, seeing if he can improve a little bit. Has a little bit of ground to make up on Robert Benson, but just out here having a great time here in the California sun. 26th in car 16, the Maverick region, up in the heart of Texas, as he sees here is Thomas Briggs from zone number 5. The last car out on the racetrack, having a little trouble, that's Daniel Dugas from the Hill Country region. 2 cars are out of tonight's race, Stacy Iwata and James Hemmick round out your 29-car field.
This concludes tonight's Midway Race Report, brought to you by Z1 Dashboard. Big thank you to them. And a thank you to Rachel and Taylor for taking us through the field. But look at this. Kenny is still close to Starkey. That actually spread out as we were doing our through the field, up to about half a second or so. And it seems like they have closed it back in. Maybe they realized we were done and are ready to give us some action.
Maybe they are indeed, as Drew Kenny, they're able to get a little bit of a gap through that sort of nothing burger of a chicane. Looked like a big lockup in front of them. I'm not sure if there was some lap traffic that they got past or exactly what that was. But here they come on to, well, let's call it the backstretch here in the infield section of Fontana. Starkey just keeping up nice and close behind, not pressing too hard.
A little bit of a slide there from the Rainbow 18. Oh, and more blinking yet again from Trip Starkey. He's already been warned by the stewards. If this continues to come back, he might get an actual punishment here. Looks like this is stabilized as he's not blinked again in the last couple moments. So they start to fly down the front stretch into the oval corners, NASCAR 1 and 2. 1/10 of a second between them. He's got the slipstream. He's going to look to the outside, though, as Kenny covers off the bottom lane.
Yeah, Kenny trying to cover that off. Starkey running a little bit higher, but we haven't really seen that high line working to fruition. Now, a lot of times, whether it is in NASCAR or IndyCar, when it's been on this track, that high line can actually play off pretty well. You can ride high, carry more momentum around, but the problem here is these GT3s just don't really generate enough horsepower. They're not fast enough to really make that momentum line work.
We had a pass between Garcia and Pippin as he's trying to make a recovery drive. In fact, look at this going on here. That was Spence in the silver car having a little bit of a slip up. Rogers thinks about it, then lifts early coming into turn 5. Almost gets underneath him, though. Once again, man, that is such an awkward corner. You wouldn't think it looking at it, DJ, but that double apex provides some odd opportunities.
No, it does, and you can pull it off. What is a little bit surprising about it is you'd think that a longer sort of late apex into that corner could pay off, almost making that akin to a corner like turn 1 or turn 2 at the Hungaroring. But the truth is it's just such a long corner. It really, really is difficult to do.
Well, I hope you got your Hollywood squares in a row, because it's time to go to the trivia with Taylor Burris. Taylor, what have we got for today?
Well, Joe, we have a really interesting one. As a matter of fact, besides, of course, NASCAR and IndyCar that raced on the oval, the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series actually did compete on this configuration from 2002 all the way up to about 2005. The question we're going to be looking for is a twofer. 2 different teams in the GTS and the GT class competed and were won with Porsches. We're looking for the 2 teams that won with their Porsches, and of course bonus points if you can figure out the 2 drivers that drove those cars for each of the teams.
All right. Well, enter what you think your answer is in the chat. We'll try and keep an eye out, and if you get the right one, we'll come to Taylor once again to mention you on air as we watch with Scott Rogers still stuck behind a whole slew of cars, also being joined by Ankerberg Zone back there. Hector Garcia trying to get away from them, and I think he's got the pace to do so. Remember, he was all the way up in 3rd, almost fighting for 1st, as we got to fight for, oh, no, that's David Purdy, excuse me. That's a lap down car, so that's not a fight for position, so pardon me.
Yeah, and that's Purdy just trying to get out of the way, but he collects Spence in the process. Oh,
and Spence, I was going to say, hit the brakes, buddy. Just kind of cruising along backwards along the straightaway. So this is the replay from above. He's trying his best to stay out of the way. This is one of those places where there's just so many curves, it's hard to avoid everyone, and side by side through that little chicane did not end well for either party.
yeah, you really can't get too wide, but we got to go to the lead here because that's Trip Starkey trying to make a move on Drew Kenny. Kenny going defensive as they go down as he hops back onto the racing line. Trip Starkey not able to get the move done through 3 and 4, and again, that tricky double apex left-hander of 5 and 6 not exactly playing out in favor of that plaid machine.
Still, we've now seen him poke and prod a couple times and get very, very close. It seems like Starkey has slightly better pace in some spots on this track, but not enough to really try and get by solidly. Oh, and Adam Spence. Oh, Adam Spence involved in that incident, having to get repairs into pit lane. So unfortunately that day going to result in probably either a DNF or multiple laps down. We come back to 4th, Krutzler, who has been chasing Frick, and this has been very tight pretty much since before we did our midway race report. In fact, for a brief while, they were battling one another.
Yeah, they were, Joe, and this is really part of that bigger battle that we were watching earlier that Spence was involved with as well. There's a little bit of spread out because of that incident with him and Purdy, but this is Krutzler, Garcia, Pippin, Rogers, Bergzone starting to claim in on this a little bit more. Obviously, Frick leading the way right now. Oh, here comes Trip Starkey again, trying to make a move for the lead.
Starkey looking around the outside as Kenny plays defensive down in the corner. He's outbraked himself plenty of times doing that. This time, though, he's learned his lesson and able to hold him back. And Kenny is the one that really needs the points here. He came into this race in 20th overall in the challenge class. We come back to Krutzler. He was 2nd in the points. It's not going to look good for him today, down in 4th here, although it'll still be valuable points.
Yes, it will indeed, but it looks like David is stuck in that same position that Trip is, just unable to get the move done, going through the best overtaking opportunity. Better line there through that 5-6 complex for Krutzler, though, it has to be said, definitely making Frick think about it a little bit.
and keeping the pressure on. So come down to the braking of 10. Who's going to get this one? Well, who's going to get the good exit is the real question, as it's quite a stretch down into turn 13. It doesn't quite look like that Krutzler's close enough to attack there. So instead, whoa! And big problem here. That was, unfortunately, I missed which car that was that we were just watching, but nearly contact into 3 and 4. And Pippin just made contact with Rogers on track as well. Stevenson is who we're watching there. Let's take a look at the replay for this first incident.
All right, so this is Stevenson in that lime green machine that you see. Oh, misses the braking zone, comes around on it. How did he get that car stopped? That was amazing car control for the 12. And we jump back here. This is Chris Pippin. 777 trying to get a little move. The 737. Oh, contact between the two.
Well, that was quite awkward, frankly, as then they try and sort it out afterwards. Oh, and it looked like there's a little secondary contact. Oh, and something's happened to Frick. Frick is facing backwards with Garcia in the side of him. They're going to lose a spot to Krutzler, who gets up into P3, and Ankerberg Zong is also going to breeze by.
All right, so what happened here? This is Frick and Krutzler going down into 3 and 4. Frick on the brakes a little bit later, outbrakes himself. Krutzler sees the opportunity. We ride on board with Garcia. Oh!
So all 3 of them involved in that then, and some big hits as well, which is not going to be good. We've seen a lot of drivers in the pit lane. Honestly, it's been a bit wild because I think we've only got maybe 15 cars that haven't visited pit lane at some point in this race.
Yeah, it's pretty bananas, and obviously the highest runner of those is Garrett Taylor right now, who had a little bit of a run through back on lap 5, focusing back in on the lead, though, as we watch Starkey getting another good run here. He's got to time this just right to be able to maximize speed as he pulls out. I think he had to check up a little bit there, and not able to get the overlap there on in the leader of Drew Kenny.
He's very shallow into that corner, though. I'm amazed he's able to hold Trip Starkey back. Trip could easily pull an over-under on him. Sad news for Krutzler fans. He is also in the pit lane to get repairs and falling down the order. And looks like that's going to promote Pippin up to 6. Garrett Taylor into 7th. Freddie Lopez back here in 19th is on the chase with Andrew McCune. Now, Lopez has had a penalty at some point in this race, had to give a drive through, but McCune has not. So Freddie's trying to make up for lost time. As I see Hector Garcia off again, and it looks like this could be an easy pass. Not particularly easy, but they are going to get through, and there is Garcia that they just go by now.
Yeah, indeed, Garcia off there, so that's gonna be down the order there for him again, running around in 7th, and whoa!
And something's got to be wrong with that car. I think he's struggling with some damage or something, the way we've seen multiple spins from Garcia. Amazingly, still in 7th place right now, and now he's struggling to get it going. I wonder if we're going to see him potentially wind up facing or wind up visiting the pits here to try and get some repairs. And in the meantime, we come back live, and Trip Starkey about a 1.5 seconds behind Drew Kenny.
Yeah, Starkey really falling back here after that last attack. Just doesn't look like he's fully got it here, and ticking down under 4 minutes to go. I'm wondering a little bit, Joe, if he's just trying to cool the tires a little bit to see if that's what it is.
Down to 4 minutes to go. Starkey keeping him honest. But, man, the gap back to 3rd place is all the way up to 25 seconds back there. And it's been an exciting one, to say the least, here today. But this is not over by any stretch of the imagination. And now it's Kenny's turn to be having some blinking. I've seen that off and on for the past few laps.
Yeah, a little bit interesting. We're having a lot of drivers with those connection issues, but we see him there. Looks like he's okay for right now as they make their way back onto the main straightaway and cross over the start-finish line. Now, we're running about 1:30, so I imagine that's going to be 2 to go for our leaders. Scott Rogers here, and we jump back. This is Jack Stevenson. This is the battle for P10. That's Scott Rogers just ahead of him.
Rogers, another one who has been through pit lane. And let's remember, some of these penalties are due to automatic iRacing penalties. They have incident limits, where if they hit 12 incidents, they are sent through the pit lane at a drive-through. And every 5 more beyond that, they have to make another visit down and drive through again. So, and with all the contacts that we've seen, no wonder there are so many that have visited pit lane and not necessarily taken a stop in their stall. And Stevenson doesn't look particularly quick here in the infield as he's losing touch with the 737.
Yeah, and the same is true with our leader of... Whoa!
The problem there for Rogers, outbrakes himself. Well, it doesn't matter if Stevenson is slow in the infield because Rogers is going to hand that over.
Yes, he is.
On the main straight once again. And behind them, that is Adam Chick as well. So this is all for a top 10, all 3 for position. Well, make that 9th. Gordon Wardle is now in pit lane. So they are all promoted up 1. We're going to watch and see what the slipstream looks like from inside the car. Let's see if they can pull a Dale Sr. and see the air.
All right, this is going to be the play here, going down into 3, getting moved around, getting going, and oh, that's a run wide there. Starkey trying to get a gather back under him. Stevenson's going to try to press here. Garcia able to get by Wardle in the back.
Adam Chick going by Scott Rogers there into turns 3 and 4. So Rogers gives up a spot. Stevenson falls down a few. Adam Chick getting 2 and 1 effectively up into 9th. Back to Kenny on your screen, just a second ahead of his rival Trip Starkey. But next time by, they're going to get the white flag. As long as he can hold that 20 car back, he has got to win.
Yeah, he doesn't have all that far to go here, but still a couple of challenging corners. Let's not count our chickens quite yet here as they go through 9 and 10. A little bit of lap cars up ahead of them. That's Robert Benson that Kenny will still have to deal with.
It hasn't been the best of seasons for Kenny since the first round. First round he won out at Silverstone, and then just hasn't seen much to brag about since then. Coming up to Benson. Is Benson going to pull out of the way and let him through? Oh, he has a little bit of a mistake, and he's going to have to try and duck to the inside. He gets checked up big time at the wrong time because here comes Starkey with a whole head of steam. They are going to have a chance to fight side by side as the white flag waves from Barney onto the oval, but Starkey is on the outside.
All right, this is the battle you've been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen. Trip Starkey trying to get that exit right as they fight their way. Starkey, though, up on that high line. Watch him here. He starts to dip the nose back down. This is that timing I was talking about. Able to run the momentum line and then pick up the draft. He gets a nice little slingshot coming out of NASCAR 2. Hard onto the brakes. Starkey looking for the crossover.
He hasn't made it work quite yet, and though it looks decent, he's not going to be alongside. Does Drew defend? Yes, he does. Covers down to the inside. Shallow line. Could there be another over-under potentially? No. Trip Starkey still unable to overtake. It is down to these two with no pressure from behind. They can battle as much as they want here for the victory on the last lap of event 4. Down into the braking of turn 10. Starkey a little bit far back. He's going to have to start closing up if he wants to get this pass done.
Yes, he is, but those opportunities to overtake are coming few and far between for him here as they make the run down now in through the little chicane flick there. Starkey's got to be pushing hard to get it. I don't know if he's going to be close enough.
Yeah, from here, he's really got one chance, and that's a monster exit out of the final turns onto the main straight. It doesn't look like he's going to have it. Drew Kenny comes to the line and takes win number 2 this series for the PCA Sim Racing Series presented by Hagerty. Starkey behind by a quarter of a second at the line. Ankerberg zone is, oh, and we got a contact for P8, P9. Adamczyk and Rogers coming to blows.
Oh, no, and that was Rogers getting spun around there on that final lap. It looks like he'll be able to maintain on to 9th place there. We ride on board with Chris Pippen as he wakes his way through the final chicanes of the infield, trying to close in up ahead.
Wow, Taylor up from 29th, didn't qualify today. And, well, oh, no, he's slow. What is happening? Taylor is going to allow Chris Pippen by. Even still, Taylor finishes with 6, Pippen with a top 5. Looking through, Rogers and Adamczyk actually still close here for position. They're among the last to finish on the lead lap. Oh, and Adamczyk blows the corner. And he's going to try and struggle his way through, but looks like Rogers will get that spot back. Wonder if that maybe was intentional from the 407 to allow him back through after that little bit of contact. And Rogers will claim 9th. Adamczyk still gets a top 10 and only 11 cars on the lead lap. Which brings us to our race results here today. And Drew Kenny really had to work for that victory, with Trip Starkey finishing in 2nd despite starting from the pole. Just couldn't find his way by. Had some opportunities as well. Ankerberg zone going to be happy with that 3rd place, considering he qualified 11th, as Kim Frick will be P4, and Chris Pippen, as I mentioned, from 27th to 5th, and Garrett Taylor 29th to 6th. Kratzler, that penalty hurt him. He went down to 7th in the end, as Craig Smith was 8th and Scott Rogers was 9th. Then it was Patrick Adamczyk in 10th.
In 11th, it was Jack Stevenson, followed by Hector Garcia with Greg Palmer and David Kaufman in 14th. Garcia, the first driver, down a lap. Gordon Warda was 15th, followed by Adam Spence and Frederick Chin in 17th, and Freddie Lopez in 18th, with Andrew McCune in 19th and David Purdy rounding out your top 20.
Robert Benson, who was involved in that late lace scare for Drew Kenny, finished 21st overall. Bruce Froby 22nd, and Chris Ramirez in 23rd. From there on down, unfortunately, it is DNFs all the way to 30th. But drivers now lining up to talk to us here today. And let's see who we have up first for our conversation, as it looks like we've got Drew Albiston with us. And was Drew actually in this race, or is this Drew? This is Drew Kenny, excuse me. Apologies there, Drew, didn't recognize you. Drew, you had quite the rebound from the previous races. After winning the first, you failed to have good finishes in the other two. Is this your redemption arc? Oh, all right. Missing Drew here. Looks like we're having some technical issues with Drew Kenny, so we're going to pass on to our next driver, which I think is Trip Starkey. Indeed it is. Trip Starkey joining us. And Trip, what a battle that was up at the front. How hard was your heart beating when you saw that lapped car give you a shot at Kenny?
You know, it was about the only mistake that I could take advantage of. Drew gave me no room to really take advantage of him. So, definitely tried to do the best I can, but Drew was just there.
We saw a lot of mistakes down into turn 3. It looked supremely difficult to try to spot your brake marker into that one. But even with those mistakes, it didn't seem like either of you could really make too many passes into there. What made it so hard into that little left-right?
I would say just each of us kind of had a little bit of a different line, and each one could take advantage of, some of the mistakes of the others, and just really, really no good spot to take advantage there.
Well, yeah, it seemed like this Roval course had its own little bit of tricky bits, especially in that infield section. Regardless, it's another second place, which is going to help you in the points. With Drew being so far back in that championship, I think you'll retain the lead. Anybody you want to thank today for that?
Yeah, I want to thank my family and my girlfriend who are watching, and also my racing mentor, Eric. I think he's on the line, and all my friends who are watching as well, and of course the PCA organizers and all the guys at Podium.
Great stuff there from second place, Trip Starkey. In the meantime, DJ has caught up with our third place finisher, Ankerberg Zone, who had quite a climb up the order.
Yeah, Anchor, that was, to say the least, a climb to end all climbs. Talk me through that, my friend.
Well, I'm not really sure what happened. It wasn't because I was passing people. It was because they disappeared.
Well, you got through one way or another, and it's got to feel good. Tell me how it is for you on a track like this. Obviously, this is wildly different than anything we visited. This sort of autocrossy infield section, dealing with something like that for a race, does that change your preparation at all?
Not so much, because I am an autocrosser.
Well, all right then. Maybe that's the secret. Anchor, anybody you'd like to thank for this third place run here today?
Yeah, first of all, the steering committee for organizing all of these races, for the sponsors, for supporting them, and for the instructors who helped me get to where I am.
Well, there you go. That is your third place finisher, Ankerberg Zone. Joe?
And it looks like we might have our winner ready to talk to us finally. Drew, do you have a copy?
Yeah, what's up, guys?
Hey, there you are, Drew. Congratulations on the win. I don't know if you heard my question before, but it's been so hot and cold this season with that win, and then nothing much to shout about. Is this your redemption arc?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, just everything felt right. Don't really like the track, to be honest with you, but just got into a groove, let's say, and ended up doing well.
Well, 2 wins out of 4 races is a pretty good stat. Hopefully, this will bump you a little bit farther up the order. What's your ultimate goal, championship-wise, this series?
Well, come on, man! Like, I want to win.
I like that.
What do we like? I'm not in here to be second.
I like that attitude. I like that ambition. Well, like I said, this will get you back on track. Is there anybody you want to thank for standing atop the podium today?
Well, my lady, my cat, my parents who are watching, and then also Trip and the rest of the grid as well. That was fun. It was tough, but it was enjoyable. So thanks for putting this on, guys.
Great stuff there from Drew Kenny. Glad we got to talk to him about that one. But we are not done here today. Up next, it is the sport class, once again here at Auto Club Speedway. So stick around, as there is more racing yet to come, and the PCA Sim Racing Series presented by Hagerty.
Hagerty is the world's largest provider of specialty insurance for enthusiast vehicles and supports keeping car culture alive through youth programs, the Historic Vehicle Association, the RPM Foundation, and more. Hagerty is home to key programs such as the Hagerty Drivers Club, Hagerty Drive Share, Hagerty Valuation Tools, the Hagerty Drivers Club magazine, and much, much more. For more information, visit their website at Hagerty.com. PCA Sim Racing is proud to have Hagerty Motorsports as its 2021 title sponsor.
Welcome back to Auto Club Speedway. We're getting ready to watch the sport class here in the PCA Sim Racing Series presented by Hagerty. Excuse me, if I can get control of my throat. And for this one, of course, the championship has also seen one of its drivers started to run away. Aaron Nations has 2 wins, and with his no-show being a drop week, he is well ahead of Thomas Doherty. And Ben Loom is a ways down from him. So this is a good sign for the number 15 car that he could potentially run away with this season's championship if he just stays consistent from here. From there on down, look at the tie from 7th to 10th. Krebs, Brodigan, Chapman, and Clayson all stuck at 550 points. Let's see if they manage to shuffle that around a little bit after today. But DJ, we were talking during the break. My goodness, this is more what we expected out of Montreal than what we did here today with this track. It is a doozy for our drivers.
Yeah, it really is, Joe. And specifically, it's the first half of the infield that really seems to be catching these drivers out. That chicane coming down into 3 and 4, you got to be very, very careful there. We saw a lot of door banging, a lot of guys getting their elbows out going into there. And then lap traffic coming back to play a real factor here. Specifically, we saw a couple of times going through that 7 through 12 complex, as well as coming back out onto the oval itself. So drivers have got to keep their guards up, as just about anything looks like it can happen here at Fontana.
And of course, just as I mentioned Nations, he's not here today to compete, which will be a 0, and that'll be hard to compete with. In the meantime, we do have our sponsor, which is, of course, Pirelli. And Pirelli was founded in Milan in 1872 and is a global brand known for its cutting-edge technology, high-end production, excellence, and passion for innovation that draws heavily on its Italian roots. Pirelli is among the world's major producers of tires and is an OEM supplier for Porsche. Find out more about Pirelli at Pirelli.com. And I believe that takes us to our starting grid here today. Mark Harris has got that pole with Jason Brodigan in second. Daniel Florian will be in third at the beginning with Lonray Sarumi in P4. Arnie Clayson starts from fifth, followed by Doherty to his outside. Keith Morgan is seventh and Volker Krebs eighth. Ryan Rapalus will be ninth and Yurza is 10th.
In 11th, it's Abhijit Barua with Ben Leong in 12th and Trey Davis in 13th. Jeff Williams will line up in 14th, followed by Stephen Jacoby with Will Munguia in 16th and Bob Moore in 17th. Carl Baccieri is going to be 18th, followed by Robert Walton, and Kurt Clifford rounds out your top 20.
David Snelling starts 21st. Then it's James Bernard, P22, and Antonio Da Silva in at 23rd. Adam Holland will start 24th. You've got James Legault in 25th position. You've got Simon in 26th, Chapman 27th, and Crane in 28th, with the last driver to set a time, Edward Trepay. And then after that, Costella and Val Asensio will wind up the end of the grid. Here we go, getting ready to start our race. It's a short pace lap around here. And up at the front of it, Mark Harris going to want to try and avoid losing the win like we saw with Trip Starkey there in the challenge. So as we come around out of the final turn, that bright chrome car will show the way as we show many of our drivers on their onboards here. Webcams flying in the challenge, or the sport class rather. The 981 waits patiently for Barney to wave the green. And he's being given quite a wait here, getting very close to that start-finish line. Come on, Barney, let's get this one going. And now the green flag is out. Harris caught a little bit napping by it. Here comes Brodigan around the outside and Florian in the middle. We're going to go 3 wide before we even get to the first corner.
We are indeed, and behind them, the field files out Noah's Ark style 2x2 as this 3 wide continues to rage. Florian looks like he's almost got a nose ahead there of Mark Harris, but that low line started to help out. We're now going 3 wide in the back. Here they come hard onto the blinders. Landry Sarumi with a great move around the outside to go 3 wide into 3 and 4.
Almost 4 wide for some of them back there. Looks like they're going to be able to make it through that chicane somehow. Impressive stuff. Some drivers having to come to a complete halt. It got so checked up in there. My goodness, Florian got a hit from behind in that chicane, but still retains second place. But leading is Harris, and we got a spin from Jacoby, who falls down the order.
Oh, we've got more of a spin. We've got a full-on kerfluffle there in the back as drivers just stack up this way and that. A big, big gap now developing as a result of it.
So down into the hairpin as the drivers work their way around. We jump to Doherty in 7th. Big train here, and they're losing touch with our leader, Mark Harris. Already a 2-second gap behind him. Here's the onboard with Doherty. Weaving through the infield chicane just ahead. A little bit of a mistake from Brodigan.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake there. We ride on board with Doherty, as you said, but looks like Brodigan ahead of him, able to get a little bit of a better jump there. Going ahead, excuse me, that's Rapolis there right ahead of him. Lanre Sarumi, after that good move to the outside there, fell back around. As Rachel, I believe you've got what caused that big incident there in the back.
Yeah, I certainly do. Now, turn 3 and 4 this time by was perfectly clean, but absolutely reminded me of Los Angeles traffic there. But that crash was the 991 of Ajit Barua pulling into the turn there for 5 and 6. It was a 6 apex, and he just comes into the side there of the 2 of Jacoby, which resulted in him going around. I'm not sure if nobody saw each other, but then we ended up with Jacoby sideways in the middle of traffic on the exit, the corner there, and everybody just comes piling in. And wow, that was a huge
Real world drivers talk about wanting that seat of the pants feel, Taylor, and I have to imagine this helps that.
It certainly does. These motion rigs are just getting more and more impressive as technology continues to advance, as we see this onboard camera here. Look at the motion of how you can feel it, and that's what helps a lot of professional drivers to utilize certain things, and that's why they love utilizing sim racing, because one, they can actually utilize this equipment to feel every bump to make adjustments for the race cars. And also the positive note about, of course, all this is if you do damage your race car, all you just got to do is hit a button and you're back at it once again.
And we might have a pass for the lead soon because Florian's on a run, but he's bringing along Clayson. Harris is slow, coming down into the chicane. He's going to back out of it, and so does Clayson as well. But this is looking eerily similar to the last race, which saw the top 3 close in the first portion.
It does indeed. Let's just hope that they were able to watch parts of that race and learn from the mistakes of the past. We right now right on board with Trey Davis as he works his way through there. You can see just how much wheel he is having to put in to get through there. I'm not sure. I think that is Bernard ahead of him. It looks like he had a bad run through 4. Davis trying to go around the outside. That's Chapman running very wide, and now Davis may have a little bit of a shot here.
Side by side. Oh, it's very narrow through the chicane. Anybody going to give it up? It's a game of chicken. Chapman with a nose ahead, but he's the first to back out. So Bernard will hold on to that 16th spot.
Yes, he will. So they're going to stay in line there through 9 and 10, that tricky full-on hairpin. And now here they come through 11 and 12, the chicane that isn't. We ride on board with Carl Baccieri. Remember Carl's amazing run last time out just by sheer endurance alone.
Indeed, he can see the battle up in front of him as we watch from the roof of his car, but no change for position there. Still, this is some frantic stuff in the mid-pack. Everybody is eager to make moves, but it's also been some fantastic side-by-side battles.
Yes, it is. We ride now on board with third place Arne Clausen. These top three have separated out a little bit. Gap up ahead from first. Whoa! Clausen very late on the brakes, trying to make a diving move. And look at that. Keith Morgan starting to get a little bit interested here in this.
Oof, almost another bit of car contact between Clausen and Florian. Morgan's going to show his nose. Don't think that one's going to work. Nowhere near to overtaking on that 242. Once again, they pick up speed, and we check back a little bit farther. It is just mayhem back here. Williams with Davis, Boccieri, everybody having their own little fun. Boccieri to the inside of Davis as they go through the double left-hander, and I think Boccieri might be able to have this. Oh, and just runs him out of road as the grass suddenly comes back on the racetrack.
I think that's a little bit short in nature to technically be considered a Pruitt fade, but we will maybe just have to call it that anyway as we continue to watch them come around here again. This is Boccieri back in 18th, the real hornet's nest that is kicking off here. Now he's got really no more chances to make a move until they get onto the Big D Oval.
To be fair, Davis was outside the white lines there, so I kind of give that one to Boccieri. He was on the racetrack, and now is sizing up Jeff Williams, and looking very, very calm, especially after his win last week. We saw him take a very happy victory for him up on to the oval. Jeff Williams being chased by the 80. And I don't think he's quite close enough for the slipstream, unfortunately, at this stage.
No, as we talked about there, you really have to be within about 0.4 of a second as Doherty here under massive attack from Brodigan. You see him poking this way and that, trying to find something by if he can. Ooh, is Brodigan going to try it down the inside of 5 and 6? No, he's not. He's going to back out.
Definitely trying to get in the head of Doherty, though. Just showing himself in his mirrors. With the triple screen setup, can look into the corners just that little bit better here. Can see his footwork too here. I like this angle, really being able to watch, and look how much steering has to be put into that corner.
Yeah, this infield section, just absolutely ridiculous how much wheel you've got to be putting in it. It really challenges you, and you can kind of see there from that onboard just how much bouncing is going on in this car.
Yeah, there's some curves that'll definitely pop it up into the air. Meanwhile, Clausen still on the bumper of Morgan. This is for the last step on the podium. He's decently close. The chrome red and black machine chasing the 700 car to the line, starting at lap 6, looking over the rear wing of Keith Morgan now.
Yeah, and Morgan definitely getting closed in on here now that they swapped over. Clausen with a full head of steam. He's going to try to go around the outside, but that car is going to stall out a little bit right now as he comes up. We've not been able to see a lot of drivers pull off that outside move. Indeed, Clausen early on the brakes goes for the over-under on Morgan. Doesn't look like he's going to get it to stick.
Not quite, unfortunately. So we come back to De Silva now in 20th position. He's chasing Trey Davis. Remember, we were watching that battle earlier. Boccieri just up ahead, and he's on Bob Moore down to the inside. Here we go. De Silva out-braking him. He's got the first apex, and he's going to have the second one. De Silva slides into 19th.
Slides it on in. We watch here as both drivers there, a little side-by-side action as they work their way through that double apex left-hander. A little bit of a wide run there. They're not going to pick up an off track there, but it may help them carry some momentum.
And Taylor, I believe you've got some information on De Silva.
Yeah, Antonio De Silva has been a longtime competitor of the PCA. In fact, one of his biggest accomplishments with his 10-year career of sim racing is his podium at another famous California racing circuit at Sonoma. Of course, one of his favorite Porsches is the 997, and of course, he drives the number 24. Of course, a lot of famous drivers drive the number 24, but of course, one I would think is Jeff Gordon. And of course, one event that he showed up to, an event day, early on, he was so excited that he showed up before anyone else. So the track was pretty much not open yet. So it's pretty interesting, and sees that he is so excited to compete in any form of motor racing. He competes in a lot of the autocross events across his area. So a big shout out to Antonio da Silva, as he is in his second year in the PCA.
Morgan there having to fend off from Clausen once again, getting mighty close into that chicane. But we're seeing similar situations to what we did before, DJ, where you can get there, but actually executing looks to be a lot more tough than you would expect.
Well, it's a lot about sort of the NASCAR style of passing, the IndyCar style of passing around the oval. You've just got to be close enough when you exit out of 18 and 19, and then time the pass right. Whoa, is that Peter? That's Peter Yerxa getting a very brave move done on Lanre Surumi.
You're not kidding there. Just had a much better exit, a little bit of wheel spin from Surumi. Set that one up as we now check in on Brodigan behind them. Oh, and I think that's a lapped car. Yeah, that's Mungia just staying out of the way. So that's not for position. However, Surumi falls down to 9th after being overtaken by Peter. So still within the top 10. Not much between these cars. Look at how little distance there is here in this group. So one little slip up and you're going to be saying goodbye to at least one, if not maybe 2 or 3 spots.
Yeah, and we saw that on the opening lap. We saw it in the last race. One mistake through the infield can really cause a lot of problems. But here's Thomas Doherty. This looks like a pretty good run on Rapolis right now. He's going to try to work his way to the outside. He's got to be later on the brakes and try to carry speed through the first corner part of this here. Rapolis able to get that car to the left and block off that counterattack. Joe, these guys know how to defend going into that corner.
They certainly do. Still going to try and show his nose a little bit down into 5. But Doherty can't shake the 666 car. He's just too focused forward, not looking in his mirrors. So Ryan stays in P5. Thomas Doherty wants that P5. What about Bob Moore, though? He is trying to hold on to 16th as he's being chased by Boccieri. De Silva, who we were talking about just a little bit earlier, also in a little bit of a fight. We took another glance at Bob Moore's fantastic little motion rig. There's De Silva on your screen. Davis, having been overtaken recently, certainly seems to want it back.
Yeah, and he's got some good speed coming off the corners, but it doesn't quite look like he's able to get the jump that he needs to get a good charge on. There we see him flying through that super fast chicane of 11 and 12, now down onto the back straight here. Not going to be a lot of places to overtake, although that was, I believe, behind Jason Brodigan, maybe taking a little bit of look on Lanre Surumi there. But still some close action here that we continue to watch.
Indeed, back onto the oval once again. Trey, yeah, he's a little too far back. Oh, up to Doherty. This is looking good. He's got the inside, and he's gotten ahead under braking. Has he finally got the job done? I think he does. Nope, maybe not. Cut back. Look at that brilliant exit from Ryan Rapolis. The 666 fights back, but it's going to have to go the long way around potentially of turns 5 and 6. And no, nothing doing there for him.
Not able to get it done. We go on board now with Rapolis as he works his way around. That is Doherty right in front of him. You see him trying to close. You can't really get that pass done through there. He has just got to hope to keep close. Better run through the middle of the corner, but I think Doherty was able to carry a little bit more speed on corner exit, and indeed you can see him start to stretch his legs a little bit here.
Marching to the beat of his own drum, Ryan really wants to get that spot back, using some creative lines out there down into the chicane. Both of them nice and tidy, but a lot of curb.
Yeah, a lot of curb there for both of them. Ooh, kicking up some cones there. Now that probably won't damage the car. We have seen in some rare instances those cones will do that. But jumping back here to Dean Chapman, that is David Snelling ahead of him, looking like he is just running that red Porsche ragged this way and that.
He's staying tight here onto the main straight between these two. Clifford and Snelling haven't given them a lot of love yet, but certainly looks like a good fight for the 11th spot. No, maybe not a good fight. Clifford's going to stay high. Doesn't seem like he's interested in fighting Snelling. Just lets him through.
All right, a little bit maybe of a strategic move there, just trying to see what he can do. Whoa, that's Peter Yerksen now in a battle with Volker Krebs ahead of him. The way he was coming into that corner, there was so much trail braking going on, Joe, I thought he was going to go sideways.
A good job keeping control of things there. Now looking over the rear wing of the Haribo car, Volker Krebs, the Canadian. Oh, and we had an incident with Chapman, maybe? I see him suddenly falling down the order. Ooh, yeah, he got some contact both with Clifford. And then I think a second one as he tried to come back onto the track. Yeah, this is going to be a bad rejoin that sends a car flipping. It's going to be James Bernard. Looks like we'll come back live before we see that incident. The 44 had to, of course, take a tow from that one. Oh, and Snelling's now off the course with Mungia.
Oh, no. So this tricky infield section calling out a few more. There is Snelling. Remember, this was the car that was just darting all over the place, trying to get by. Let's check out this replay.
What in the world? Looked like maybe he lost hardware failure. Just the car suddenly spearing straight where it should have been going left. So I think he lost connections. He must have lost connection briefly because he blinked out there. So some sort of issue that we can put on that outside extenuating circumstances, unfortunately. It's just the nature of sim racing, but Keith Morgan, in the meantime, is not concerned about any of that. He has got his eyes on the 11. He wants second place away from Florian.
Yes, he does. He is definitely trying to push that here. He's got the gap down to about 0.6 of a second, so still a little bit more work to do if he wants to go for it. Florian, though, definitely starting to feel the pressure, and he has really fallen off the back of Mark Harris to the tune of about 3 seconds at this point.
Florian with a little mistake there, goes deep. Morgan knows it, but Morgan seems to have a mistake on the other end and goes wide off the corner. This is all happening about 3.5 seconds behind Mark Harris, who's had a much calmer race than what we saw for the lead last time in the Challenger class. We check in on Trey Davis once again. Still in a little bit of a tussle with Bob Moore. He's very close in front of him. Don't think he's close enough to attack down into turn 13, and no, he's not going to attempt it.
No, not looking like he's going to go for it quite yet. Just got to keep this nice and reeled in. He's going to want to try to do it here. Looks like that's a better run out of the corner, though. Here he comes.
Trey Davis has one of his best opportunity yet, but he's got to remember that's Antonio De Silva behind him. And if they mess up into turns 3 and 4, that could easily switch to his hands. Had to get back down into the slipstream. The outside line, unfortunately, not seeming to work all that well here today on the banking. Drivers needing to put a little bit more rubber up there, I suppose. Going to look a long way around to 3 and 4. And no, Moore just covers off the apexes.
Yeah, just being defensive there and driving a great line as a way to do it. We may see a little bit of an attack. Ooh, looks around the outside, maybe a 5 and 6. Tries to carry that momentum, cut it back, and really diamond off the corner. Look at that run. There may be a little bit of an attack here for the 217. Bob Moore trying to defend. I think he's got this covered unless there's some very brave moves, and indeed, he's got it.
Yeah, not feeling quite that bold there at this stage in the race because we've still got 25 minutes left to go. We watch from the rear view of Bob Moore briefly and now come back to the TV cams. Somebody pour one out for all the cones that we've watched fly around today. There have been plenty of them that have been sent tumbling around. And of course, a credit, somebody buy a beer for the marshals that have been replacing them repeatedly.
Yeah, indeed. Very impressive. Whoa, here comes Keith Morgan on the attack again. Now, I don't know if that was a full-on attempt at a pass there for the 700 machine, but I definitely think he's just trying to put some pressure to Florian, seeing if he can get him to outbrake himself down into 3 and 4.
So watch our third place runner, Keith Morgan. Ooh, and Clausen is starting to catch back up to them, it looks like. So this could be a three-way fight for best of the rest soon. Clausen's not been doing too bad. Arnie trying to play catch-up as Boccieri. Unfortunately, was he just overtaken by Williams there?
Yeah, it looked like he was. I think Williams was able to get to the inside of him on the banking and just run that car down. So Carl down a spot here, unfortunately, down in 13th. Just trying to hold on. A little bit of a battle they're shaping up behind him, though, between Moore and Davis. That's one of the ones that we've been watching. Oh, they're side by side.
Yeah, Moore to the outside, Davis to the inside. This time he's going to try it, and this time he's successful. Move Trey Davis up into 14th. A small correction for myself. Williams was defending. He was not overtaking Boccieri. Regardless, the result is that Williams is in 12th. Here's the onboards of both of them at once. And coming down into turn 13, though, yeah, they're a little too far away from one another. That's Walton and Costella behind them. That I think that was Costella showing his nose a little bit. Oh, back up to Morgan. Down to 0.2 of a second, but he runs out of racetrack, hits the binders. And Florian knows the deal at this point. He's just going to continue to block off that inside line.
Yeah, I think the deal here for Keith Morgan is he's going to want to try to make that move at an area where Florian's not going to expect it. That's really what he's got to do. Potentially going down into 5 and 6 like that. Maybe a little bit what we just saw with Trey Davis do on Moore. Diamond off 5 and 6, get a really good exit there and try to chuck it down the inside, coming through that fast sweeping chicane of 7 and 8.
Getting close, but then it looks like he overshot himself a little bit there into the corner. And Yurza and Broad again having some issues in turn 5. It's 5 and 6, unfortunately, costing both of them some positions when they made contact.
This track just catching more people out. You know, Joe, we talked about in interviews how surprising it is on how difficult this infield section is. Normally when you look at a roval like this, you think of it more as an autocross. Ryan Rapolas finding out just how difficult their turn 17 is as he runs wide, kicks up a whole mess of cones.
Out on the front stretch once again. And Ryan been able to hold back plenty of drivers. He started in 9th. He's up to 6th, 3-place gain for him. I think one of our biggest movers, though, is Kurt Clifford. I see up 9 positions there. And, Costella's up 13, I think.
Oh, but almost as importantly, Joe, we've got Keith Morgan. He finally got the pass done. That was him going around the outside into 3 and 4. But I don't think this is done between him and Daniel Florian.
Well, that's a convenient bit of timing because it's now time for our midway race report, brought to you by Pirelli. Pirelli was founded in Milan in 1872 and is a global brand known for its cutting-edge technology, high-end production, excellence, and passion for innovation that draws heavily on its Italian roots. Pirelli is among the world's major producers of tires and is an OEM supplier to Porsche. Find more about Pirelli at Pirelli.com. Rachel?
Thank you very much. And, well, thank you to some classic California gridlock at the start of this race. We did not have the same dance partners, shall we say, at the very beginning of this. Now, Mark Harris, of course, there is the leader. Connecticut Valley region at 981 car from zone number 1. Started pole, still running pole, which is a change from last race. Second place, though, is Daniel Florian. He's up Keith Morgan. He's moved up 2 now. So Keith Morgan, we're getting some change in positions right now. I do apologize for this one, but Morgan in the 700 from the central Indiana region there of zone 4. He started 7th. He's currently running in 2nd. Second place, Florian just pitted. Third place now will be Daniel Florian. Wilderness Trail region of zone 3 there, the 11 car. He's moving up here, see if he can come back. No, not quite close enough. 4th place, however, is going to be Arne Klaassen. the San Diego region driver, a California native. The 242 machine from zone number 8 up from 5th, running in 4th. Got Thomas Doherty's camera on there with all the triple screens. The Central Indiana region driver in the 59 car from zone number 4 is running 5th place, as mentioned, up 1 from 6th. Speaking of 6th place, we have an amazingly spacey car. It's Legolas's brother, Ryan Rapalas, from the recent Dota region of zone number 2, with a very, very vertical camera. I think it looks stunning. You go. 7th place tonight is going to be down from 4th place. It's Landre Sarumi, the Chicago region driver of zone 13 in that 17 machine. Started 4th, has dropped 3. And started 8th, running 8th, is the Haribo man, Volker Krebs, 53, the Canada West region driver of zone number 6, always making me hungry. 9th place tonight is going to be Peter Yerkser, started 10th, up 1, the Down East region from zone number 1 in that 54 machine. Trying to have a quiet race here tonight. 10th place is a man I always call John Williams and expect music. It's Jeff D. Williams in the 517 from the Rocky Mountain region here, as we see more cones fall victim to these evil race cars. The 517 started out in 14th, up 4. Carlo Boccieri just takes that place after a slowdown for Williams. We'll see him in 10th. He's there on his sim rig, looking incredibly calm and tranquil. Boccieri from the Metropolitan New York region, zone number 1 in the 80 there, up 8 places from 18th. 11th place right now, or 12th place as we shuffle these guys around. It's going to be Kurt Clifford in 11th from the Rocky Mountain region in the 888. As things get very, very tight, another cone falls victim yet again. 12th place is going to be Trey Davis. We mentioned him a second ago. New shirt for a new race. Davis there is up from 13th, running in 11th right now. The first Suckers region driver in the 217. 13th, Jeff Williams. We mentioned him a moment ago. 14th will be Bob Moore. Please stop changing places, guys. How dare you race? There's Bob Moore in his amazing motion sim rig from the Northeast region in the 772. Zone number 1 driver started in 17th, up 3, making me incredibly jealous. 15th place is going to be Robert Walton from the Maverick region of Zone 5. That's 6 car of Walton, up from 19th to 15th. Taylor?
As we move on to the 16th position, we will find Andreas Costella from the Maverick region trying to be in hot pursuit of Robert Walton as they work through the infield section of the course. He started in 30th position, so a great drive for the Maverick region's Andreas Costella. Moving on to P17, car 144, murdering some cones right now, unfortunately. The Upper Canada region's very own Adam Holland is sitting there after starting in 24th. 18th position is Antonio De Silva from Metropolitan New York region with the VR headsets going on as he's trying to find his way around the circuit, coming up onto NASCAR turns 1 and 2. And of course, De Silva started in 23rd. Next up in 19th from the Lone Star region is Stephen Jacoby in that very vibrant rainbow-colored Porsche as he enters into the infield section of the course. Started in 15th, lost 4 spots, having a tough time trying to avoid all the cones of chaos here as he will continue to battle his way up through the field. 20th is Edward Trippett from the Nordstern region in that vibrant green and red Porsche as he works his way through, entering the infield section in the 444. Not a bad number, if I do say so. 21st in the Brumos colors is Ben Luang from the Upper Canada region, one of my favorite Porsche paint schemes out there on the circuit. Ben, of course, started in 12th position, so not the best of nights for him. Moving on to P22 is Avjit Baru from the Mid-Ohio region, zone number 4, also trying to recover after starting in the 11th position. As we see him in the black and red Porsche working his way through the infield, trying to catch up to the Brumos Porsche. In 23rd for the Maverick region, Jason Brodigan also, so a 3-car battle for the 21st position as they work their way through. Of course, for Jason Brodigan. Not the best of nights either for him after starting in second. 24th position is the last car on the lead lap is Ronald Simone as he is working his way through. As he is also in another vibrant rainbow-colored paint scheme. The first car one lap down from the Northeast region is David Snelling in car number 25, working his way through. As he's trying to recover, started in the 21st position. 26 in the 013 from the Northern New Jersey region is Dean Chapman in the Flying Cats Porsche. Of course, one of the longtime teams in the Team Racing Series that competed earlier this year as they have their season finale in a couple of weeks' time. 27th is James Bernard from the Alaska region, the farthest north region in the PCA, as he is working his way through in that camo-colored number 44. Last car on the track, Will Munguia from the Peach State region, as he is working his way through, not having the best of nights, but hoping to make a recovery in trying to find some positions. James Legault and Tom Crane are also the cars that will not finish tonight's race.
This concludes tonight's Midway Race Report, brought to you by Pirelli. Big thank you to them for sponsoring this series, as well as a big thank you to Rachel and Taylor for taking us through the field. Not much has changed at the front. Harris still leads by about 6 seconds, but Florian is starting to manage to gap Morgan, and it's becoming a battle for third instead, with Arnie Clausen back there in the 2-4-2, just kind of hunting him.
Yeah, indeed he is, Joe. We haven't really seen Arnie try to make any big moves here, although he's getting very, very close there through 9 and 10. I get the sense that Arnie is just waiting for the right time to strike here.
Yeah, I think things are settling down somewhat through much of the field. I see a few battles brewing, but drivers are trying to get this thing to the end with how punishing this track has been. This is Trey Davis, though, back in 11th, still fighting with Boccieri. I'm going to check in with him, looking to try and size up the 80 car down into turn 10, maybe try and get the launch off, but nothing doing for him at this stage.
No, not really able to get it going there. He's really trying to see what he can do. Both drivers, you can see the concentration they're both putting in here at this point. Again, this infield section is just so tricky to get absolutely perfect. That looked like a good run there, though, for Trey Davis.
And I think we've had a penalty for one of our major players. The 666 is on the lane. But I thought it would be a drive-through. He's coming down to his stall, it looks like. If he does that, it's going to be an even longer penalty if this is for too many incidents. What's he doing there?
I just saw a little bit of his front pop into place, Joe, so I wonder if he picked up some damage that we were unaware of.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good point. Well, whatever the case it was, he's fallen all the way down to 18th. And he's still in his pit stall. It's spending some time in there. Well, we'll keep an eye on that as we come back to the battle between Clausen and Morgan. Florian would certainly love to leave this farther in the dust so that he can be a little more comfortable. You can see it's still a gap of about 1.5 seconds between that red car and the black 700 machine. 11 more minutes to go, and that was a great exit from Florian as he starts to streak away. We now check in instead with Williams. Oh, sending a late dive in, which is unfortunately going to spin both he and Clifford around. And a little secondary contact is now Bob Moore, Walton, Costella, Jacoby all go past.
Yeah, and I think there that was Clifford just getting that wrong a little bit. It looked like he was taking a wider line through 9 and 10 and just mistook that a little bit in the back for a chance to overtake, and that obviously did not end well for any driver.
Oof. Well, that was great stuff for Moore and the crew because they all took 2 spots with ease. And we can update, we've been given information that it was not an incident limit for the 666. So yeah, it must have just strictly been damage.
Well, Joe, especially at a track like this, if you've got some aerodynamic damage to the car, it's really going to slow you down, and you will be a sitting duck around NASCAR 1 and 2. Now, I just looked at it quickly, and it looked like it was the front nose of the car and not necessarily the rear wing, which is where you'd expect to see the damage that would slow you down in a straight line. But clearly there that Rapolis just wanted to come in on it. Rachel, I think you may have something.
Yeah, now, whilst we are on it, wow, fine example there from Rapolis of cone assassination, but you'll often find with these rovals that sometimes you can actually pick up damage transitioning off the infield onto the banking because it's such an abrupt change. You can sometimes pick up some splitter damage. Now, whilst the rear wing would be something that would cause drag to the car, what you're going to find is with front splitter damage is not only will you actually suffer some drag, but you change the airflow underneath the car, and the underbody is a critical downforce surface on most motor cars. Now, wow, I sounded like 80 when I said that. Either way, the splitter can cause a lot of difference, and once you get turbulence in the underbody, that tends to lead to the car being a little bit more flighty in corners and less willing to grip. And when you have a loss of the underbody control, turning becomes a lot more difficult. So that's most likely why he came down.
Well, while we tried to mull all that over and figure out what the 666 was doing, we need to mull over our trivia. Taylor, what's the story?
Well, of course, Joe, we were talking about the special California Festival of Speed that is happening at Auto Club on October 30th through the 31st. As a matter of fact, it's their season finale for the West Regionals for this club racing schedule as well. The thing we want to ask, though, is there are so many championships up for grab and so many classes. The question we're going to ask is, how many classes are in the PCA Club Racing series? So we're just asking for the number of classes that are in the series, and we'll give you a shout out on tonight's broadcast.
Had a little bit of an accident with Castella back there as we watch from Boccieri in P9. That is Trey Davis just behind him. Both Davis and Boccieri have been giving us plenty of views with their webcams here today. There you can see both of them fighting at once, appropriately facing opposite directions to their cams. So nice little head-to-head.
I see what you did there, Joe. So yeah, those two continuing to duke it out around here. One of your closest battles out on track as it is right now. And they just continue to kind of keep in this chess game, let's call it. Davis just trying to pressure Boccieri a little bit into making a mistake. Boccieri not looking like he's giving in right now.
Nope, he's going to pull away to the tune of about 0.6 of a second there. Oh, and we got another one in pit lane, Stephen Jacoby. Not sure what happened to the 2 car. Down into the chicane of 3 and 4 here for the 9th place battle. And they re-enter the infield. Now down to 7 minutes left to go. Oh, and Morgan. Whoa, Morgan going deep into the corner, but backs out of it at the last moment.
Yeah, backs out of it. I thought for sure that was going to end in tears there, but this has closed that battle up a little bit. Morgan is closer on the back of Florian now, and Arnie Clausen only about a second behind.
I'm a bit shocked that suddenly it got that close. Morgan seems to have lost a lot of time with that move, back up to about 0.7 of a second. But Florian had cleared himself ahead of the 700 and 242 for so long. Not sure if something went south for him or if maybe some lap traffic held him up, but whatever the case, the battle is on yet again. This is a lapped car. Ronald Simone just between them, and he's not willing to give way to the blue flags yet. Morgan is going to have to try and cut underneath, and once again gets botched in.
He does indeed. Just that car serving as a little bit of a pick. I'd imagine that black Porsche is going to be a little bit frustrated at that. That was not exactly courteous driving, but we've seen good speed out of Morgan. He'll try to catch back up here.
Don't need to go to it. More problems for Andre Castella. Another self-spin in the middle of the infield. Bounding through the quick chicanes here. Our drivers now slow it up. Oh, and we hop over to Bob Moore. I think he just got overtaken by Walton.
I believe you're right on that, Joe. I'm not entirely sure how he did it, but Moore got past.
Yeah, Walton just had a better exit onto the oval, and Moore didn't fight it. So Robert Walton up from 19th position to 11th so far in this race. Pretty hefty gain for him. Watching Bob Moore taking over the curbs. Wonder how rough that thing feels when he really pounds over those things.
It yanked the wheel out of his hand a minute ago, so very accurately portraying Fontana. As I said at the beginning of the last broadcast, I have had the pleasure of driving this track in what ostensibly amounts to an old Star Mazda, and I will tell you, it's real bumpy. We're going about the speeds that these Porsches were going here, and you can feel it through your spine as we now watch Artie Klaassen trying to make the move on Keith Morgan. Remember, Morgan was checked up courtesy of a lapped car, and now it is Klaassen on full attack mode.
Ooh, but he gets a very bad exit out of turn 4, and he falls back to a whole 0.6 of a second. So that gets away from him. Oh, and Kirk Clifford is off in a very strange space. Almost like Kirk Clifford went to sleep because he went in the grass on his own on a straightaway and spun across the track. That is bizarre.
Yeah, I wonder if that's maybe a hardware malfunction, Joe, or if something else happened to that machine.
Yeah, it's staying with this battle, though, here on screen. Down into the infield section, Davis and Boccieri. Looking back from Carl's view, these two just lying astern. This has been a fantastic battle between the two of them, although Carl probably wishes he was a little higher up like last week, but can't complain too much. A top 10 will certainly be nice down into the braking of turn 10, and Davis starts to close the gap slightly, but can't get his nose in.
No, can't get it closed yet, but this is getting very, very close indeed.
Well, let's get close to Rachel down in the pit lane. Rachel, you've got some more Hollywood facts.
I do. I mean, we're in California. It's kind of necessary. What do Owen Wilson and Richard Petty have in common?
Okay, this is a good one. I give up.
Well, let's just say they both voiced characters in a certain animated film. Is that any clues?
Yes, I see where you're going with it now.
Yeah. Well, the Los Angeles International Speedway from the movie Cars, the venue, of course, for the Piston Cup, and the big tiebreaker race that was their finale was actually on a version of, well, it was an animated version of Auto Club. So this also hosted that too.
Interesting stuff. Oh, that's Rachel Whiteford with the fun facts about this track. And, once again, getting close down here. Entering the corner, DJ, seems to be the strong point for Trey Davis. It just seems like he can't seal the deal.
Yeah, it just looks like he can't get the power off for him. And if I was in that position, Joe, I would definitely think about maybe trying to just back up the braking zone a little bit, trying to get that power on a little bit earlier. But Davis just doing a great job of hassling Boccieri. And like I said, if this was anybody else, I would be remarking about how Boccieri must be cracking under pressure. But we saw what he was able to do last time out, so not entirely surprised.
This is certainly helping Mark Harris, who's now about 6.8 seconds ahead of everything. The rest of the field really having no answer to him, unfortunately. Mark's just looking to try and cruise this one home. And Mark came into this race 5th in the points. It's going to be his first win of the season if he can wrap this one up. And he's going to get the white flag next time by, so it's not too much longer to be able to celebrate victory here as we come back to the battle with the 53. Krebs holding low, Yurza holding high.
Yeah, that battle continuing to go. Let's see. Yurza's going to try to go in. Looking like he's going to have to make it work.
But it's getting mighty close, and they've got some lapped cars battling, approaching behind them, Chapman and Snelling. If I'm not mistaken, both of them are trying to recover. So I wonder if we might have a weird situation where the lapping battling cars will have faster pace than the cars that would be giving them the blue flags and are also battling.
It's a bit of an interesting conundrum to have happen, Joe. We'll have to see how these drivers handle it here. Dives it down. As here is your leader, Mark Harris. Going to cross over the line here with about 10 seconds to go and get that white flag from Barney the Flagman.
One more to go for the 981 car with a clear 7 seconds behind him. First real battle we've got is between 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th that we see here. Well, I guess not really 9th and 10th. Those are split away from them, but it's still a battle between Davis and Boccieri. But Urza and Krebs are both close together in their spot, too.
Yeah, they really are good battles there. We ride on board with Urza as he tries to close in. But there he goes. You see that draft coming in as they switch back onto the banking, both trying to hug that low line.
Oh, and he's got a great run here. He could have a slingshot, but he's going to have to go the long way around, which hasn't been successful most times from what we've seen. Tries to break it deep into the corner, tries to cut back, and there's a car there.
Yeah, just not able to get that all down. Whoa, Urza there losing a little bit out, and I think that's going to end that battle effectively.
I think that was a lapped car, was it not? Yeah, that was a lapped car getting involved. Meanwhile, Mark Harris. This is going to feel good today for the Chrome 981. Out of the last few corners, just controlled this race from beginning to end after starting it on pole. The fastest man today by some margin was Mark Harris with victory in California.
An absolutely dominant drive from Mark Harris. And I also want to give credit here to Daniel Florian, who was able to hold out to some very, very fierce pressure back through the field as he's going to get ready to cross over the line here in second.
Still the battle for 9th place. Krebs and Urza have been split up by that lap traffic, so that one going to end on a damp squib. Meanwhile, Boccieri, little bit of a mistake as Davis gets close to the rear bumper, but unless he gets a huge exit and is able to out-accelerate him, I'm not sure there's much he can do. He's a little too far back for that one. Boccieri is going to be able to claim 9th.
Yes, he will. So another collected drive there from Boccieri. He's really making this a staple of his PCA career here at this point.
Meanwhile, on board with De Silva, Williams and Walton just in front of him. Three-way battle, and it's going to be a little bit close. They're trying to carry as much speed as they can onto the oval, but I think Walton's got it. That'll get him 12th. Williams with 13th and De Silva 14th. Nothing between them at the line. Last car in the lead lap is going to be Brodigan, actually, in the 14. Leung just not able to do anything to Holland there at the finish. But I believe that is it for our race. So let's go through our finishing results here today. And Mark Harris is going to take the win over Florian by a good 8 seconds at the line. Keith Morgan was behind him in third as Arnie Clausen finished fourth, and it's Doherty in P5. Sarumi falling back 2 spots to finish sixth was followed by Krebs in P7 and Urza in 8th. Davis up 4 spots, 9th, and 7 for Bob Moore to finish 10th.
Coming home in 11th was Jeff Williams, with Antonio De Silva rising up 11 places to come home 12th, as did Adam Holland, also coming up 11. Ben Leong was 14th, followed by Abhijit Barua in 15th. Carl Boccieri, as we noticed, held onto that position there in 16th, followed by Brodigan in 17th. Robert Walton was 18th. A lap down was Kyle Clifford in 19th, and Ryan Rapolis, with that strange damage stop, was a lap down as well in 20th.
21st went to Simone, and then Jacoby was 22nd, followed by Snelling in 23rd position. Last couple of lap down are Chapman and Costella. Then it's 2 laps down for Bernard. Trepe finished P27, also 2 laps down, and then it was DNFs from there on out, unfortunately. See if we've got our winner ready to talk to us. I think we might pretty soon. It looks like Mark Harris, yes, is going to join us here in the booth in the 981 after starting it from the pole, leading every lap. and coming to the end in the lead. This is a fine marker for his stats. Let's give a chat to Mark Harris. Mark, congratulations. Just utter domination today. Never looked like you were really challenged too badly.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it was to me, it was a challenge. It was difficult to focus initially, but once I got into the groove, it seemed to just come to me.
What would you say is the secret to this track? Because it almost looked like it caused more problems for our drivers than Montreal did.
Yeah, well, it didn't cause more problems for me to Montreal. Montreal, I went from first to what, ninth or something like that. But yeah, the secret to this track, I think, is patience, learning the line, taking those lines rather slow. I mean, trying to overdrive this track is just not going to work for you, for sure.
So slow and steady wins the race, and certainly seems to have done so for you here today. Next round, thankfully, you're not actually doing the Nurburgring Nordschleife, but you do have to tackle the Grand Prix course. Do you think you can carry this on over to Germany?
Yeah, we shall see. You know, it's one of those things where how much practice can I put in, and if the line comes to me like it did in this track today, it might work out. We'll see.
All right. Well, that was our winner, Mark Harris, here with the victory. As up next, I believe DJ has caught up with Daniel Florian, P2.
I have. And Daniel, that was a battle for you all the way through, my friend. Talk me through how to hold off that pressure from behind.
Yeah, I think I was trying to manage tires. I don't know why, but I thought I was scrubbing a lot. So I figured if I made it kind of challenging for Keith, who was definitely putting on the pressure, then I could apply more pace later on. And that's kind of what I did towards the end of the race with like 10 minutes to go.
Were you expecting there to be such close battling around here, or was this a track that you were expecting to be a little bit more of a driver's track? And how did that change your approach to it coming into the week?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not one of the tracks that I would say I'm particularly fast at, and I think I just had a really good qualifying session, and I had a great start, and just tried to avoid the chaos in turn one. But I think trying to definitely when I looked at it, it was one of those tracks that I thought, wow, drafting is going to be an issue. But surprisingly, these cars, there's not much gain when you're behind someone on trying to catch draft.
Well, you pretty much handled it well tonight, I'll tell you that. And so anybody you'd like to thank for a good second place run?
Yeah, special thanks to my 3-year-old. He loves to jump on my lap when we do track walks. Special thanks to my wife, who's cheering me on. And special thanks to you guys for putting on a great show and making it feel that extra bit special.
We are happy to do it, Daniel. That was your second place finisher, Daniel Florian. Joe?
And up next, we have third place finisher Keith Morgan, who had an impressive first lap, going from 7th to 4th, with most of those spots happening in turns 3 and 4, that first chicane. Keith, in a place where we saw a lot of drivers get spun out and make contact, you were willing to be that little bit more aggressive. What made you decide to try and take those spots away when you did?
Well, it was, we've done some practice on here on this track, and there are some lines that are safer. And I took those safer lines kind of with the assumption that crashes would be happening beside me. And they'd been safe lines that had gotten me through, in group practices with people spinning all around.
That certainly worked out well. I'll have to make a note of that, because that was some very clever stuff. After that, though, you and Florian had an almighty battle for that second place. Talk to us about that.
Oh, it was, I felt like I was in battles all night, because, I mean, after the battle with Daniel, I had Tom Doherty right there. And that battle felt like it was going on forever. I don't know how many times I chased him down into one and just really couldn't get it done. I tried the psychology games on him, looking like I was going to swing out and try a dive in. He didn't bite on any of it. He drove like ice, and I could not break him, and I could not get by. I finally get by, And then, well, I hit that slowdown penalty down there in what I call the autocross section of the track. And that was pretty much that. After that, I really had no hope of catching him. I don't know if he was better to his tires, but he had the pace later in the race that I couldn't catch him.
Well, next week we head off to the Nurburgring for their Grand Prix course. And of course, I mean, it's a German car and it's a German track. Is that one where the drivers kind of are eyeing and thinking, I really want this one?
Well, I think an awful lot of us have a lot of laps at that track. So kind of I feel like I've been getting faster throughout the past couple of seasons, and I'm starting to feel like I'm getting the hang of this a little bit. And I think I may get a little dose of humility when we get there, because that's a track that a lot of people know well. And frankly, I remember from last year, people were just obscenely fast there. So a repeat on the podium feels like a pretty heavy lift for me.
I can understand that. Frankly, I was never very good at that track either. But not only did you get a podium today, you had 0 incidents we're just hearing. So very great drive. Anybody you want to thank for that?
Yeah, I have to thank my wife. I want to thank you guys, and I want to thank PCA for putting this on. This is just an incredible series, and their support, and it is just amazing. It is so fun. But I really have to thank my wife, who puts up with me spending all this time with what she calls the people in the box, who may or may not be real.
I like that. Well, that was our third place finisher, Keith Morgan, with a great climb from 7th up to 3rd. But it is going to close out our broadcast today. And of course, we'll see you next time at Auto Club Speedway again for the club and pro classes. And that all kicks off at 9 p.m. Eastern on Friday, October 22nd, live here on Podium Esports. Thank you so much to our title sponsor, Hagerty, as well as the series sponsors, Z1 Dashboard and Pirelli. A big thank you to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, and a huge thanks to our team tonight, DJ, Taylor, Rachel, Ryan, Eric, and Dougie. None of this is possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports, James Pike, Gary Sexton, Cisco Scaramuza, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing presented by Hagerty. I'm Joe Peak, and I'll see you on the track.